This week in Jamaica Now, masks on mandate for the general population to wear the protective equipment to be reimposed as Jamaica battles a resurgence in COVID cases. Clampdown, Mexico toughening its immigration policies as Jamaicans use the country illegally to get to the United States. Guilty, a Bible study teacher who raped his 12-year-old student has been convicted. And why is the teaching profession in shock? Hello, I'm Jovan Johnson and this is Jamaica Now. The government has reimposed a mask mandate in schools. It comes as Health and Wellness Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton confirmed this week that Jamaica is experiencing its fifth wave of the COVID-19 pandemic. And Prime Minister Andrew Holness has announced that the mask mandate for the general population will soon be reimposed.
As you know, we are in the fifth wave and it will be a continuing feature of life going forward, that we will for some time be experiencing recurrent bouts of increased infections from this disease. It is called the endemic phase, meaning that the disease is becoming a part of our daily routine. After 2 years, everyone should know how to behave in order to protect themselves from the virus.
Meanwhile, the health minister says the uptick in COVID-19 cases has been driven mainly by the very transmissible Omicron subvariant BA2. News also came that Deputy Prime Minister Dr. Horace Chang and Labour and Social Security Minister Carl Samuda tested positive for COVID-19. Minister with the responsibility for information, Robert Morgan, says the two cabinet ministers are fully vaccinated and are doing fine. For the past week, the average positivity rate was over 20%. Meanwhile, Education Minister Favour Williams has indicated that face-to-face teaching will continue. She says provisions will be made for students with COVID to sit their external exams. Meanwhile, Jamaica is on alert for the monkeypox virus that has been detected in parts of Europe, the United States and Canada. The World Health Organization says monkeypox is a viral disease that occurs primarily in tropical rainforest areas of Central and West Africa. The Global Health Agency says the disease typically presents symptoms such as fever, rash and swollen lymph nodes and may lead to a range of medical complications. Monkeypox is transmitted to humans through close contact with an infected person or animal or with material contaminated with the virus. The Mexican government has toughened immigration processes in permitting landing to Jamaicans amid growing concerns over an illegal human smuggling corridor to the United States. Data provided by Mexican immigration authorities reveal a drastic increase in the number of travelers from Jamaica over the past 2 years. In 2020, a total of 4,467 Jamaicans traveled to Mexico. A year later, arrivals surged by 68% to 7,509. For the first 3 months of this year, a total of 2,929 Jamaicans traveled to the North American country. A Manchester father has been left disappointed in the island's justice system after the murder charge against a man accused of killing his daughter was reduced to manslaughter. Andre Bromfield was charged on 1 count of murder over the shooting death of his lover, 24-year-old Chantel White, on New Year's Eve in 2019. He pleaded not guilty to murder. But on Monday, he pleaded guilty to a reduced charge of manslaughter on the basis of provocation. Alton White is upset that Mr. Bromfield will not be sentenced for the murder of his daughter. He says the justice system is unfair. Mr. White says it was his daughter who convinced him to return to Jamaica when he fell ill and had been taking care of his affairs. According to evidence presented in court, Mr. Bromfield indicated that he had acted irrationally. He said Chantel disrespected him after he approached her about a man who kissed her on the cheek. And a jury this week convicted a Bible study teacher for the rape of a child who attended his church. Henry Cooper was implicated in 3 sexual assault incidents, starting with when the girl was 11 years old. In one of the worst cases, Mr. Cooper raped the then 12-year-old girl in 2018 outside her St. Andrew home. After he committed the act, he instructed the child to perform a sexual act on him. Prosecutors said Mr. Cooper regularly visited the child's foster father, who is also the pastor of the Kingston Church. Mr. Cooper will be sentenced on June 16. The education system is reeling from the deaths of at least 6 teachers in 6 days up to Wednesday. In the latest case, students and staff at Charlemont High School in Newryton, St. Catherine were left in dismay following the passing of Senior Vice Principal Jennifer Giddon. The 62-year-old veteran educator died after a protracted illness. Before news of Ms. Giddens' death, the Education Minister Favour Williams confirmed that 5 teachers had died within days of each other. Mrs. Williams said the deaths of Gregory Williams, Antoinette Banton Ellis, Anne-Marie Johnson Lindo, Carlos Gordon and Donnelly Wright have been a big shock to the education system. The circumstances behind most of the deaths are not very clear. Police investigators say gunmen failed in their plan to kill their target at a burial at the Meadowrest Memorial Gardens in St. Catherine on Thursday. However, 2 members of the funeral party were killed and 2 others injured. Commander of the St. Catherine North Police, Senior Superintendent Howard Chambers, said the gunmen were on a killing mission. One of the deceased is Shanice Dean, the sister of Ananda Dean, whose abduction and murder in 2008 shocked the nation and after whom the Missing Children program Ananda Alert is named. The other deceased person remains unidentified. Crime scene detectives say they have recovered more than 20 spent shells. The United Kingdom has endorsed Kamina Johnson-Smith's bid to be the next Commonwealth Secretary-General. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson tweeted Thursday that the Jamaican Foreign Minister has vast experience and support to unite the 54-member Commonwealth organization. It's the first major public support for Senator Johnson-Smith, who is seeking to oust Baroness Patricia Scotland from the top executive post. The issue, which has divided CARICOM, will be decided at the meeting of the Commonwealth leaders in Rwanda in June. And that's it for this edition of Jamaica Now, your weekly review of the big news stories. Send us your comments at onlinefeedback@gleanerjm.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Jamaica Gleaner and on Facebook at Gleaner Jamaica. Like this video on our YouTube page, turn on your notification and subscribe today. I'm Jovan Johnson, and before we go, why did Opposition Leader Mark Golding lead a march on the Finance Ministry this week?
We are gathered here this afternoon in Heroes Circle for a number of purposes. We're showing solidarity with the people of Jamaica who are facing a wicked crisis, a very challenging time from the cost of living, and in particular from the gas price that feeds into so many other prices in the economy, from transportation to electricity and everything that relies on those things. We have made a suggestion in the budget debate as to how to cushion the crisis in relation to the gas price, because the budget is predicated on an import price of oil of $67.50 US per barrel. We all know that the price of oil on the world market is much higher than that, and we have said that the taxes on the fuel that is derived from that oil should be capped as if the price at which the oil was imported was that budgeted price of $67.50 and not $100 US or more. And we are going to deliver today a letter to the Honourable Minister of Finance attaching a draft order for his consideration to implement that very measure, and he can implement it with immediate effect.